Recovery, and this is our Sunday morning recovery meeting.
And welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. We are both of us in recovery. I'm an addict I take on different addictions. My first one started with food. I'm a compulsive emotional eater in recovery. And I have been blessed to have that obsession of my mind actually alleviated by being in recovery. So what you see on the outside isn't necessarily what you see on the inside. I'm fat on the inside. I've lost over 600 pounds in 44 years. Gained and lost it. I am a lot healthier than I was a year ago. Mm-hmm. So before I got into recovery, I was a serial dieter. I lived with guilt and shame and in pain constantly from trying diets and going on new diets and failing on diets. And I was blessed to find Dr. Felice, who actually introduced me to recovery.
Yeah, and when we talk about, no matter which we're talking about, if we're talking about overeating or binging or the guilt and the shame and the horror and the sadness and the loneliness that we feel, and that's the same with any addiction, whether you're addicted to food or alcohol or drugs or same. And that's really what I consider more of the definition of addiction.
So when diet scientifically will work, if you're taking in less calories than you're burning, you're going to lose weight. Mm-hmm. The issue wasn't the food. I came to realize that the issue really is the stuff that I think about and what I feel about and the things that are inside my head and who the heck really am I after years of stuffing myself and stuffing my feelings because I just didn't want to deal with me or be able to look at me and for whatever reasons express to people what I was really feeling. Mm-hmm. I lost who I was. Mm-hmm. And through recovery I'm being able to learn who I am as a person and also to be able to express those feelings. So instead of stuffing it down, I'm able to speak from a point of honesty, which I wasn't doing for many years. I always told people what I thought they wanted to hear or what I thought was the way that I wanted to show up and present myself to them, which wasn't necessarily a true and real picture of what I was feeling or who I really was.
Right, and if it was a true picture of who you were or what you were feeling, then you wouldn't have to stuff those emotions. And you guys, when we talk about recovery, and especially in the beginning when we're first into our recovery, it's really hard because what happens is we show up and then we have these feelings and we're not stuffing ourselves and we have absolutely no idea of what to do with those feelings and we're not falling back on our drug of choice, which is the food or binging or purging. And then what do? Then we're just like out there on our own. We see this a lot, you guys, with people who are post-bariatric surgery, because what happens with bariatric surgery is that it's amazing. You go, you have this surgery, you start to lose weight, but you're still stuck with you. And so since you're still you, and you're still having those same feelings and emotions, you just can't eat because you're going to get sick. That's a really big challenge then, because then what do we do with all of that stuff when we actually can't stuff it? And so that sets us up potentially for some kind of cross addiction, where we'll see people who are post-bariatric surgery who now drink or drug or do anything that they can so that they don't have to show up and show how they're feeling. And at that point, you guys, we have absolutely no friggin' clue as to who we are or what we're doing or why we're doing the things that we're doing, unless we start some type of recovery program.
Well, for many years, I honestly believed I needed to do the right thing, which was showing up as the person I thought I needed to be. Mm-hmm. So I had these preconceived notions of what the ideal daughter was, what the ideal wife was, what the ideal mother was, and all these ideals that I created in my head and these stories that I told myself. So I really put myself under extreme pressure to show up in that way. And some of it was really chaotic because I would take on all those things and create these stresses in my world so I could control it to be that person that I thought would need to show up. So if my child was having a bad day, I believe that if I stressed about it, it would make their day better. I became these different people because that was the concept that I had in my mind of the way that I needed to show up. But in terms of integrity and authenticity, that didn't sit well in my soul. That wasn't being honest and true to myself. that was just taking on more chaos around the world and not really talking about me as a person and my feelings. And
you know, it's so funny because addiction happens because we're actually very self-centered. And so we have the entire world, our entire universe kind of revolves around how we're feeling on the inside, which we're not expressing on the outside. So we're feeling sad, we're feeling depressed, we're feeling low, we're feeling anxious, we're creating chaos, and that chaos that we create gives us reason to use, and then we use and we feel ashamed and we feel guilty and we create chaos around that, which lets us use. And it's funny because we're having all of these feelings on the inside. The most important thing to us is our own feelings and our reasons then to use. And on the outside we present as these people who are very productive. Most of us are overachievers. When we can show up, we do show up, we do our best, and I do exactly what it is that I think you expect of me. Because ego-wise, the only thing that I feel about myself and the only thing that I have to go from is what I think your opinion of me is. Not what my opinion of me is, because I don't have a friggin' clue as to what I am. So I'll feed off of what it is I think you think I am. Do you see me as amazing, as great? I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to do. I'm a great mom, I'm a great daughter, I'm showing up, I'm making parties, I'm doing everything, you know, exceptionally on the outside, and on the inside, I'm lonely and I'm afraid and I'm stuck in that hamster wheel of abusing myself with either food, drugs, alcohol, whatever it is that we're doing, and creating the chaos around it. And so it's just this.
And you'll walk around with a big smile on your face.
Yeah,
so
of
people
course.
will say to you, how are you? I'm fine. I'm good. Everything's okay. Because by saying that it's not okay makes us think, well, for me, I used to think, I'm not as strong, I'm less than, people will judge me, I'm not fulfilling this prophecy that I have of having to be this perfect image of this person who's always happy and always in control, and those things that I thought I needed to be, which was causing more chaos on the inside. So people didn't really see what was happening on the inside and how I was abusing myself to be able to show up to be perfect.
You know, it's so funny because this morning we were struggling with the tape, and we talk about how we present on the outside. And so this morning we were taking the tape off a little thing, and I was like, do you need me to help you? And it was, the tape thing wasn't working. No, I got it. And it's so funny because I still catch myself doing that all the time. You know, do you need some help? No. Do you need some help? No. Do you need some help? No. Do you need some help? No, right? It makes her crazy. Angela would be like, can I help you with that? No. She's like, of course I can. You know, you got it. So we're still kind of used to that, never asking for help, because we actually kind of set in stone, and that's something that we'll learn to get over as we're in further in our recovery, but that we can do everything ourselves. Because if I need to ask you for help, remember we talked about this last week where we say if I need to ask for help, that makes me appear weak, when in actuality asking for help is one of our biggest strengths. So, and if we could have asked for help, we wouldn't be sitting here in this room.
So how do we ask for help?
We ask for help. We just do it. It's like people saying, I can't stop eating. Yeah, you can stop eating. You know what I mean? I mean, yes, we can. It's making that choice, showing up and getting some help so that we know what's going on inside, so that we can correct the way that we're feeling, start to get rid of the guilt and the shame, learn how to make better choices, and be in community where we have people who have our backs.
So the big thing is that challenge of not being in control. What does that look like? Because the more in control I am, the more I start, the cravings kick in, the willpower issues step up, and I start having that constant battle with myself. Because when I try to control my world around me is when I realize that I've got so little control over the things around me. I can't control my customers and my clients and my kids and my husband and the teller, the cashier in Publix, and the person who cut me off in traffic, and I can't control so many things, but I let it affect me in so many ways. So as I strive for control and being that perfect, real, whatever that perfection is, my out in that situation becomes the food. So then it becomes a conflict between the food and trying to control my world. So how do we balance that out?
Yeah, first of all, you know, the two things that we are in control of are our perspective and our own actions, right? And so that's when we talk about
and your reaction.
You can't, believe it or not. And so what happens is the less we pay attention, the less acceptance we have, and the less we learn to let go of the things that we can't control, the greater our struggle is. And so that's what the challenge is. It's looking at what is it that I'm in control of again. We're in control of showing up and doing the next right thing, that's it. If you guys come to a meeting, good morning. We're not in control of all of the other people in those seats, which is kind of a quiet morning for us today. So we're not in control of what you do if you show up, how you show up. We're not in control of at the end of this meeting if you think it was the greatest thing on the planet or the worst thing on the planet. What we are in control of is showing up and doing our best to do our best. And we're going to talk about that a lot in recovery, because it's all recovery is, you guys. Is showing up, doing my best to do my best, realizing that my best at this moment has to be accepted because it is what I can do, and not creating that I'm not good enough and I'm less than and all of those things that we go to, which is a reason why we're trying to control you guys, so that we don't have to create that chaos and eat and stuff ourselves.
And I think also showing up and doing our best is also letting that expectation go, that if we do something, this is the reaction that I'm going to get. Because I think just that sense
predicting
of
the future, we can't predict
right.
the future.
But I think there's
true?
a certain level of expectation. I know with me that I will show up, and I've done this in the past, and I'll do things and do things and do things because I expect a certain outcome. So, which isn't true to myself, because I should just be doing it because it makes me happy without having an expectation of something at the end of it.
Right, and so not even so much. Not even so much that I show up and it makes me happy, because sometimes doing our best to do our best isn't always going to make us happy. But still showing up and doing your best to do your best. And again, knowing that when people come into the meeting late, it's not about you. It's about them and how they're feeling and their day. Good morning, you guys. It's so good to see you. No, it wasn't a that. I heard that it was wonderful last night, by the way, so I'm so glad that you guys had a great time. That's awesome. We didn't even expect to see you, so thank you for being here this morning. I appreciate it, really. It's very cool.
Yes.
Very cool.
Because we got home this morning.
Yeah, no, I'm saying, so it's just showing up and doing your best to do your best. That's it. That's all. You immediately said you were sorry. I was saying thank you for coming.
I know.
And you were already in your head deciding what was going on in the world around you. And that was just me saying good morning. No, nothing to apologize for. Good morning. Thanks for being here this morning.
So I came from a culture that we always apologized for everything.
Everything. Everybody apologizes for everything.
You could be having the worst day ever. You could have sliced your finger off and be bleeding, having a gush, and someone would go, "How are you?" And you go, "I'm fine, okay." So you could be in the worst pain. So it became this thing that when I first met Felice, I'd apologize for everything. I'd bump into a chair, I'm sorry. I'd say something, I'm sorry for everything.
I cut my finger off and I'm bleeding on the couch. I'm sorry, I'm bleeding on your couch.
So she goes, instead of saying, I'm sorry, go, I'm awesome and how are you? Or whatever the follow-up.
Yeah, and so we don't say I'm sorry. So when you come in, and you know that, when you come in the morning, instead of saying I'm sorry, you say, I'm awesome. And we had a great time last night when we got here. So that's awesome.
Yeah,
you're awesome. We'll talk about that after.
No,
Good morning, Johnny.
So, do you want to do a quick check-in?
Yeah, so let's do a quick check-in. We'll do her last. She's giving me the look.
Oh, let me just quickly give you a quick overview. We do record the sessions. People only see this space.
Yeah, nobody sees
no one
nothing
sees
except
anything
for us.
else.
You don't have to say your name if you don't want to. You can if you want to. I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery. I'm checking in this morning. I'm Felice. I'm not feeling fine, effed up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. I'm feeling pretty good. Happy that I got up and that I'm at the meeting today. A little bit kind of a boring weekend, which is a little bit of a challenge for me. Because for me, boredom, it's a lot easier when you're bored to be an addict, so you think. But just in the end, it don't work out. So that's how I am this morning.
And I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery. My name's Haiti, and I've got into a habit of weekends. Saturday becomes my catch-up on movie days, but it also used to be my catch-up on binging and eating day, because Monday was 2 days away, and I could start every major diet on Mondays.
Yay!
Because we always had that weekend to get through, except this weekend was a little different. My husband there was a member of our synagogue who passed away who was tremendously obese and had challenges and health issues from it. So for me, that's a bit of an eye-opener, but it's also that challenge on a Saturday not to get stuck into the food and just go, am I doing what I'm doing because it's a habit, or is this something that speaks to me today? So,
Thank you.
sure.
You want to say good morning?
Good morning, everybody. How are you?
Good
I
morning.
feel awesome. I really feel awesome. We had a great week.
Great.
We laughed, we sang, we danced. I mean, I was good on my food. I'm good.
Perfect. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
I had a relatively good week.
Good.
Lot of stressors.
Okay.
A lot of stressors during the week. Lot of surprises. People, places, and things.
Okay.
And I did use.
Okay.
I was even sort of persuaded to use.
Okay, we'll talk
And
about
I
that
talked-
a little bit.
And I had so
Okay.
little bit.
Remember-
Didn't finish it, but I used.
Okay, so remember, using is using is using.
Mhm.
And so that's one of the things that we don't kid around about in here. If you used, you used. And sorry, but end
Yeah.
of discussion. So
I learned.
we don't
Right.
minimize
Mhm.
our addiction
Right.
because we've minimized our addiction forever, and it's what got us here.
Exactly.
Or got us dead,
Yeah.
right? Or got us in a locked word somewhere.
Yeah.
So we don't minimize that. So we
Yeah.
stand up, we put our big girl pants on, and we say, you know what? My week was like this, and I used. I'm going to start again today with a clean slate, but I used. End of discussion. We could talk about later if you're having whatever feelings were attached to the event,
Mhm.
but otherwise, I used. I don't care if you use this much. If I'm shooting up and I only use that much heroin instead of that much heroin, I still effing used. End of discussion, right?
Exactly.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm peanut butter.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm tired, so I'm so
Okay,
happy
cool.
to be here. I'm just happy to be here.
Good. I'm happy that you're here as well.
Thank
Do you feel like checking in?
Peanut butter.
Okay, that's fine. Do you feel like checking in?
Yes, I'm Patty.
Hi, Patty.
How are you?
Nice to see you guys here this morning.
Thank you. I've had a hectic week. Our daughter is in the process of moving into her own place, so it's been very hectic and somewhat stressful.
Yeah, and so stressful as far as that goes, we know that life is super stressful. And so one of the things that we learn in recovery is to take a look at those outside stressors and decide which ones are really important enough to hurt us on the inside. And so that's one of the things that we're going to learn about.
It's not hurting me on the inside.
Good.
I'm relieved.
Perfect. Perfect. That's
And I'm
awesome.
here because I'm addicted to sugar.
Okay, and you
Hello.
and yeah, everyone's gonna shake your hand right now.
You too.
Johnny behind you's laughing. Good morning, Johnny. We missed you last week.
Well, I thank you. I had a chest cold a couple of weeks ago, and in me it triggers like asthma symptoms for a while. So I sound like Nat King Cole. I'd like to sing Unforgettable if I can.
Only if it's gonna be unforgettable. Thanks. Otherwise, you okay?
Yep.
Okay. You want to just say good morning?
Good morning.
That's it. She's done. Okay. Thank you for that honesty. She's one of my sponsees, so she'll not say nothing if she don't want to. So, okay. So we were talking about, you know, a lot of times, whatever conversations we're going to have are going to get down to powerlessness, right? And what we do, and we don't. Is somebody trying to call in to Zoom?
They just came in.
Okay, good morning, whoever just came in. What we do have power over and what we don't have power over, we just talked about our stressors for the week, and we talk about not picking up no matter what that stress is. Right? So do you want to add to that, or?
Sure. So there are a couple of things that come into not picking up. I'm a food addict. I'm an addict. I've gone from food, cigarettes, drugs, you name it. I've had.
And you
different
guys out there,
addictions.
she lost 130 pounds. So I know that people look at you and they're like, really, she's a food addict, like she's like this. And we talked about when you got like this, how happy were you on the inside? And so you lost that 120 pounds, and you still were pretty unhappy.
So
So that part didn't change.
this didn't change. This changed, but what was in here didn't change. So as a food addict, there's certain things. One is, well, as an addict, this is never enough and this is never enough. I don't have that full switch. I don't have that cutoff point where I go, I've eaten enough, I will eat till I'm in pain or until I'm purge, and I can eat more or I'll carry on eating. I can graze the whole day.
Yeah, and you know, that's the same thing, by the way, with drug addicts, is that, you know, we can do one Percocet and say, wow, okay, that was okay. Or we could do 100 Percocet. Like, there's no, you know, when they say one is too many and 1,000 is never enough, it's, you know, you have, when my kids were growing up, we had the 3 cookie rule. Nobody was ever allowed to have more than 3 cookies at one time. And I did that because of expense. Because I had 3 kids who had 300 kids in the house all the time. And so we had the 3 cookie rule. There's really no such thing in addiction as 3 cookies. If you have 1 cookie, you can have 1,000. And 1 cookie and 1,000 cookies kind of look the same, right?
But they don't look like anything. It's more the feeling. So for me, it becomes the effect more than the look. So in the beginning, I may gravitate with my eyes to something, but at the end of the day, it becomes, how do I feel after I've had it? So it becomes more than just 2 potato chips. It becomes, well, do you know what? After I've had half the bag, let me just finish the bag, and I feel like it in a certain way.
Yeah.
So it becomes a certain effect. So when I'm feeling down, I get a certain effect that if I eat certain foods, then I feel a certain way, and it feels like it calms me down, or so I think, for a certain period of time. So as a food addict, I've got this obsession on my mind, because it's also, addiction is partly, there's a disease attached to it as well. I have a certain allergy to certain foodstuffs. If I put certain trigger foods into my body, it creates more cravings, and then it becomes an obsession in my mind that I want more, and it's all I think about, and my days become obsessed with food. And I find myself driving through those drive-thrus and hiding papers and lying to people and myself about what I've eaten, and grabbing things that I shouldn't be eating because they make me feel bad, not for any other reason. So I've got that mental obsession.
I'm going to ask you too, when you say make me feel bad, because they make you feel bad physically, right? But
Right.
Emotionally, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, it makes us feel like so bad, and so much less than, and so embarrassed and so ashamed of ourselves.
And so guilty.
Yeah.
Guilty. Why did I stick to that diet? How come a diet only lasted 2 days and it didn't last 4 months? I'm one of those people that if a diet worked for me, the first one I did, I would have been able to maintain my weight, except I've tried so
Everybody else
many.
too. Yeah.
So it definitely comes down to the food. So I have to have tools and a program that I can rely on in terms of being in recovery. That's key. I have to weigh and measure my food. As much as I've fought against that for years and years and years, it's one of the things I have to do. I have to come to meetings. Being in community is essential, that I can pick up the phone and say, listen, I'm in a place that all I'm smelling is freshly baked bread or pizza, and it's killing me, and I just really want to get stuck into it. And I'm going, but why, if I know that it hurts me, do I want to have it? And I can pick up the phone or reach out to somebody and have a conversation and say, do you know what, maybe it's not the pizza or the bread. Maybe it's because I had an argument with Stephen earlier this morning that I never resolved, and this is what I'm really dealing with. Or my kid's really struggling at school and I don't know how to fix it.
Right, and so it's never the pizza or the bread. And a shout out to one of my sponsees. I know that you're out there listening. And I got a text from one of my sponsees today who is in here. And she said, I'm so glad that I don't have a car, because that's all I want to do is eat a tremendous amount of French fries. And God bless you for reaching out and saying that. And so it's never about that we want to eat the French fries. It's about, why is it, what's happening right now? What feeling am I trying to stuff that that my brain thinks that if I eat French fries, I'm going to feel better. That I'm going to get that 10 seconds worth of what I think is bliss, so I could have the next 10 years of shame, guilt, horror, and all of the other great stuff that goes with our addiction when we're using.
And it's also not feeding into that 7-year-old patronage
Feeding
style.
into, yes.
That 7-year-old child that is scared and afraid, and it's all about me, and I want to feel bad so I can use more and justify my actions and lie to myself because of it. So the struggle that I find is that my go-to fixes become the fast food, the sodas, the candies, the hamburgers. You know, I've got certain foods that when I look at them become like a magic pill.
Two people.
Okay. I'm not that into, I'm not a drug person per se. I'm a marijuana person. I could smoke dope all day if
That's
given
not
a
a
chance.
drug, really.
For me it is, because it
No,
becomes
he's
an
kidding.
obsession.
He's being sarcastic.
That was my one.
He's being
It's
sarcastic.
cereal.
Yeah.
So I could get into those comfort foods because they're easy, they're quick, it doesn't take much thought. It's
They're not
a meal.
against the law.
They're not against the law. They are cheap. I mean, to go get these specials,
They're everywhere because you guys
everywhere.
have drug dealers everywhere. And so 2 people online right now are talking about struggling with fast food. And one of the struggles with fast food is that it's fast and that it's everywhere.
It's not food.
And you guys, it's not food. The struggle isn't with the fast food and the struggle isn't with the soda. The fast food and the soda is what you're picking up because you're struggling. It's never about the soda and the fast food. It's about what's going on with you that you need to change your brain chemistry right now to feel better because you have no idea of how to reach out, ask for some help, or find out what it is that you're going through. You know, the Why Wait for Recovery community was made for a reason. And the reason why it was made was so that we can find out what it is that we're struggling with so that we can get better, so that we don't have to pick up. Do you mind to share for a minute? Because you talk about how being in community makes that difference.
All the difference in the world.
Yeah, why is that?
Because it's out in the open. Now, most of the people that I am in touch with on a regular basis, other than clients, know that I come here. They know that I actually, I am on a certain food plan, and they know that I'm an emotional eater. So whenever I'm like with them,
Makes it harder
I
to
order
use.
soda. I can't cheat.
Right,
They
exactly.
know.
Right, it's like somebody's got your back. You guys, I
Yeah,
practice medicine.
Absolutely, we have each other's back.
I practice medicine. Every one of my patients knows I'm in recovery. Everybody knows that I'm in recovery. You know, it's like the more out I am about who it is that I am. You know, we say we're only as sick as our secrets, and that's really the truth. And so first it's about us getting honest with us, depending on your comfort level, getting honest with the people around you so that nobody plays into your bullshit and nobody feeds your addiction.
Can I just
Thank you
jump
for
in?
sharing that. You can do anything you want.
Sure. So
It's
the
my last day
concept-
here for a while. You can do anything you want.
So the concept of fast food for me just plays into that way of thinking for me. I always thought that everything had to be fast. You know, going into recovery or working on myself would take so much time. You know, being healthy would take so much time, and it's just so much easier. Everything being quick, fast, and all about everyone else, and being in constant motion. And what I'm learning in recovery, it's actually the opposite. The opposite is true. Making that time for myself is essential. Making that time to be able to say, for the next day, what am I looking at that's going to make me feel good, happy, healthy, that I'm putting into my body? Because ultimately it's the nutrition that we want. Because if I had to keep feeding my body the way that I was feeding myself, I walked around with a colostomy bag for 3 months because my colon exploded. So at certain stages, our bodies weren't built to take constant abuse. How do we want to look 20, 30 years from now in terms of our health, and how do we want to feel? And who do we want looking after ourselves 20, 30 years from now if we don't start looking after ourselves now and use that as the precedent? So if I start looking and say, what will make me feel good tomorrow, I'm able to pack and plan ahead and also send that out to a friend and say, this is what I'm eating tomorrow, and that's my accountability to be able to stay in recovery as well.
And you know, sometimes, and that is true because you're at the point right now in your recovery where you can look at it and say, what's going to make me feel happy tomorrow? In the beginning, it's all about this sucks. I'm going to do what I need to do and show up the way that I need to show up to do the next right thing. Because I know, first of all, it takes a while to make a new habit, you guys, not just break an old habit, but to make a new habit. And so when you talk about weighing your food and pre-planning your food, it's so essential because you're forming a new habit, right? You're teaching your brain to do something. And a lot of times we talked about this last time about being bored with your food. It don't matter.
No,
The
it's
food's
better.
just food.
It's better.
Of course
when I
it
have too
is.
many options, I may pick the. I definitely
By
will
the
pick
way,
the
I
wrong
found
option.
what she's saying, I'm sorry, I forget your name. I found that that's true too, that I have a limited menu because I can try to keep it simple. And I thought,
Okay.
you don't get tired, because I'm eating so much less, I just enjoy what I'm eating, and I don't, it doesn't bother me that it's redundant.
Right,
So-
and the food isn't the end all, catch all. Oh my God, my whole entire life
Exactly.
revolves around when, where, how I can eat, what I'm going to eat, so I don't have to friggin' feel the way
Right,
that I'm
change your
feeling right now.
relationship with food.
Exactly. So it's changing your relationship with yourself so that you could change your relationship with your food.
The obsession for me is far worse than anything else. That constant thinking about food, planning my next meal, that constant chatter in my head about food is worse than the food that I'm putting into my body. So when I alleviate that obsession and I don't start thinking I'm swapping this for that because my addiction has a voice. I've been an addict for so many years that my addiction speaks to me and wants me to keep feeding that habit per se. So if I can alleviate that obsession, that for me is a godsend. I mean, in many ways, of not having to deal with it.
Yeah, and when we talk about that, I'm gonna get to you. When we talk about that, you know, our dopamine receptor in our brain is our dopamine receptor in our brain. It's the same receptor that we use when we're doing crack. And so all you guys that are addicted to sugar are crack addicts. Same thing. The only thing is if you're doing crack, you'd probably be thinner. But basically, exactly, and I don't know where to get it, so you're gonna have to Google it because I don't know. But basically, it's same. And so our brains are very demanding. And when our brain is used to having that receptor stimulated, and our brain knows, wow, I'm having a bad day, I'm having a mad day, I'm having a chaotic day, I'm gonna smoke some crack. And so it's gonna change the way that I feel for a couple of seconds. And then the brain says, okay, well that was good, because for a second I felt different, let's do it again. For a second I felt different, let's do it again. And so the reason why I always bring up drugs or alcohol is because it's easier to see the addiction. You guys think, oh well, it was only some mashed potatoes. Not you guys, everybody out there. And the people that are looking at everybody out there need to have the same respect for that addiction to sugar, that food addiction, overeating, binging, purging, anorexia. No matter what it is, it's all the same shit, it's all the same receptors in our brain, and when someone shows up with a needle in their arm, everybody takes it friggin' seriously. When somebody weighs 350 pounds and it comes time for dessert, and you want to share the apple pie with them, you don't take it seriously. And so you're disrespecting them, and you guys who play into that shit are disrespecting yourself and your addiction. Everybody needs to wake up in the morning and say, I'm an addict. I'm an addict. This is how my brain works. I'm going to respect the fact that I'm an addict, just like I would respect the fact if I had any other disease going on, and I'm going to do my best to make sure that I'm not feeding that addiction.
So, to get back before you said, so if it's not the food and it's not the substance, let's say, well, say you think you're feeling good about yourself, something amazing, whatever, like you have that feeling of, but then you use anyway the next day, so, but you're feeling good, so does that mean you're not feeling good?
How do you feel the next day?
Oh.
The next day when you have to come in here and say that you used, how do you feel?
Oh, yeah.
Great, so how good did it feel? So you felt good for 10 minutes and you have to feel like dog shit and ashamed and guilty about yourself for the next 15 years?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so let's remember that, guys. It's not what we're doing, it's the end result and how we feel after we do it. And it's finding out why can't you just have fun and have fun? Why do you have to get high if you're having fun? You're already having fun. Let your brain get used to just having fun without binging, without purging, without getting high.
But if if you're feeling good about yourself and things are good, let's just say, and there's no, like the night before, I was never on top of the world like that. And I hosted. It was, everything. But then the next day, I was feeling naturally great, and somebody.
And you used.
Because you went from a high to a low.
No, but I'm saying
the normal.
No, but the thing is,
I was feeling good.
Right, I got it. And so with addicts, when we're feeling bad, we want to change the way that we feel. When we're feeling good, we want to feel better.
Yeah.
We never let our brain just friggin' feel.
Right.
Just feel.
Right,
when I'm happy, I'm happy. When I'm sad, I'm sad. I don't have to be more happy, more sad by something that I'm taking in from the outside.
Right.
It's about me, the emotions that are attached to whatever it is that's happening in the day, learning to deal with it, and learning how not to change my brain chemistry so that I can get through the day as a happy, healthy human being.
Right.
So I feel great when I'm using in the beginning, and then all of a sudden I don't feel so good anymore. And so all of a sudden I start isolating, and I start wanting to go to certain places, and all of a sudden my hips are hurting me and my knees are hurting me, and all of a sudden I can't catch my breath, and I'm battling to walk around Publix, and all of a sudden in the long run, so in the beginning it starts good, and then all of a sudden I start shouting and barking at my kids because it's my addiction speaking, or at people around me because I want to go use and be on my own so I can have my own, feed those emotions, whatever they are. So what starts off looking good and feeling good to me ends up in a way that I feel so bad about myself that at points is when it made me want to die.
And remember, we talk about fear, right? And so fear, everything that we do that's negative in our life, every negative emotion that we have is fear-based, right? And so we talk about losing what I have or not getting what I want. And so when you're feeling well and you want to feel even better, it's because you're afraid of losing what you have. If I don't do something to enhance the way that I'm feeling, the good feeling's going to go away and I'm going to be left with me. Right? And also when we talk about, and I love that you talk about the fact that you got sick, because that's your reality, and that's going to be everybody's reality, you guys. Everybody's going to get sick. Everyone's going to get fatty liver and diabetes, and they're not going to be able to walk, and their ankles are going to be swollen, and they're going to be out of breath, and you're not going to be able to tie your shoes. And to go along with all that, you get to wake up every single morning scared and ashamed and trapped and imprisoned in your addiction. And you wake up in the morning, and instead of waking up in the morning and thinking, oh my God, this is such an excellent day, like I'm gonna do, you're like, oh my God, what happened? How could I have done that last night? And I can't believe I did it, and I really can't tell anybody about it. And so you start again with that chaos. What happens if somebody finds out? You start lying to yourself. Really doesn't matter because you know I'm not gonna do it today. And so you're lying and you're in fear, and we don't know how to deal with that, of course. And so we use more. And so again, we're on that hamster wheel
and then I show up as a person that I don't want to be. I become really angry, and I become that person that I can't control, rather than being a kind, considerate, compassionate, happy person. I'm an adrenaline junkie. I love being high. I mean, honestly, there's nothing better for me with a group of friends. We're eating, we're getting high for those couple of seconds.
Yeah, for those couple of seconds.
And then I feel like crap. So then it starts catching up, and I try to get to that same place where it is. So one of the challenges for me is I love entertaining. I love people. I love entertaining. It's part of my culture. I cook, and I can cook anything. The thing is, I can't eat everything.
She chooses.
I choose at the end of the day.
You can eat whatever you want to eat.
Right, but I choose at the end of the
Right.
day what's going to make me feel better, because I know how low those lows are, and I know how bad I felt, and I hang on to that as a reminder, because I don't want to go there again. I've learned something different, and I've experienced something different. And that's recovery.
And you know, you guys, recovery is hard. It's hard, and it's something that we work on every day. And we talk about waking up in the morning and saying, shit, I don't want to have to be in recovery today. I don't want to have to be happy. I don't want to have to do the next right thing. I want to be miserable like everybody else in the world is. You know, and I want to sit in my pity and all of that. It doesn't work for us, you guys. And so sometimes are we going to have bad days? Of course we are. Is it as easy as, oh yeah, we just choose to do, you know, we do our best to do our best. I say that all the time. The thing is, sometimes doing our best to do our best is hard. Sometimes showing up is hard. Sometimes saying how I feel is a tremendous struggle. But still, at the end of the day, I go to sleep with me. And that's who I am. And when I get through the day, no matter what, and I haven't used, I don't go to bed scared. No. I don't go to bed ashamed. I don't go to bed guilty. I don't go to bed wanting to effing die, man, because I've gone to bed wanting to die and hoping only when I wake up in the morning that I'm going to be clean enough, my blood will be clean enough so that my kids won't think that I died in active addiction. Who thinks that? Addicts do. Yes.
I hate positive people, but
we know that about you. Thanks for sharing.
I have a positive thing I'd like to share. I'm very self-conscious about it. Remember, if I made a motivational series, it would be success through negativity. But I have found that there is like this like change. You know, you can never forget you're an addict. But like one thing, I always invoke something Haiti said the first time I ever spoke to her, and that was that when you have a meal, you always want to eat more, and at the end of the day, when you're done eating, you want to eat more. And that's still true for me, but it is different. I'm 170 days in, I'm 60 plus pounds down. I don't know exactly because I don't weigh myself I weigh myself every few weeks.
Good.
And so I noticed this change, which was reinforced by what I think is a revelation that I had. I got this chest cold a couple of weeks ago, and for when I get these things, and I haven't had one for like 4 years, because Bruce gave me my medical file, so I was able to look back how when it was. And so it morphs into asthma and a dry hack in the butt. So I'm reaching over my night table, there's this bag of sugar-free Ricola cough drops, and it's been there since the last time I had one of these. And when you're a bachelor, you could have something on your night table for 4 years. And so I'm reaching over to get a cough drop, and I go, holy, that word you can't say on TV. And I'm reaching over, I realize, a bottle of Tums, a bottle of Pepsi Chews, and you recommended them to me, and a bottle of Mylanta. I haven't used them in months. I can't remember the last time I used them, which is for decades. I lived on them. They were a fucking food group for me.
Yeah,
you know?
I hear you.
And so I'm thinking, I used to live on Zantac too. And I'm thinking, I can't remember the last time I took one, so I went to my guest bath where I kept the Zantac in the medicine cabinet, and sure enough, there's a brand new box of 2 bottles I got from Walmart in the cellophane, never opened. Can't remember when I got it or when I used it.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And so that's the part of the obesity, the overeating, the binging and purging, the whatever, makes us physically sick, you guys. And that's so amazing that you're feeling better. And thank you for sharing that positivity with us.
This leads into something about making better choices. So the question becomes, how do we make better choices on a daily basis, because we've been eating certain ways for so long, and our go-to easy choices are not necessarily better choices for us. So we all know what our trigger foods are. Our trigger foods are those things that when we eat them, either we physically feel them, that our body starts swelling, it starts aching, it makes us want more of them, they start talking to us, or they're the things that when other people don't finish it on their plate, we want to just grab it and eat it. So it's those things that... So it's the stuff that talks to us. So the better choices are the ones that firstly make us feel better. We know, for me, my worst foods and my trigger foods are the starches and the wheats. And those are my big, big issues. And sugar can also lead into that. So I have to be very careful. So the question is, how do we make better choices?
Okay, first of all, and I want to let you know, when you say the sugar, the wheat, whatever, you guys, dopamine receptor, sugar and starch. There's no way around that. That's the crack part of what you're eating. So until emotionally you're getting strong, until you're learning about yourself and your recovery, until then, you got to stop eating this stuff. You got to stop doing the crap.
You mean one day I'll be able to do it?
Yes.
So I reached a stage.
Yes.
So I reached a
Because
stage.
I've come to terms with the fact that I will never have it, and I'm even semi-okay with it.
Good.
So I reached a stage where I was...
But you never will be. You'll never be able to do that.
I became a Diet Coke addict because I thought that because it wasn't sugar, I could have it. The problem is sweet in my mouth tasted sweet in my mouth. So then it becomes that obsession. If I swap almond flour for the wheat, and it becomes this whole obsession, which is the mind game and the chatter that I can't deal with. I thought that if I lost 80 pounds on HCG and I waited 6 months, I could eat whatever I wanted to be and become a normal eater again. I'm an addict. I can't. My body is wired and I'm built differently.
So the first bite leads you to the next one.
Be a normal eater.
Yeah, they say 1 is too many and 1,000 is never enough. And you guys switching your this for your that is me switching my alcohol for Percocet. Looks a little bit worse when we say I'm switching alcohol for Percocet, but that's the same thing.
So we're saying
It satisfies me.
No, you don't switch one trigger to another trigger.
right.
Right.
And what we're saying is, once we're wired, and once our brain synapses have been wired as such, basically we'll always be wired that way.
Correct. So will we always be an addict? Yes, we will. Will we always, do we recover? We recover from that demoralization. We recover from the people that are living in fear. We recover from being unhappy. Brain-wise, if you're allergic to shrimp, you're allergic to shrimp. It doesn't happen that over time I get unallergic to shrimp. If I'm allergic to shrimp, I'm allergic to shrimp. Sugar, starches, sugar foods. If your brain, your receptor is addicted to that stuff, that part don't get better. It's just the way it is.
What if you can have bread? you can, like, let's say
On your
I'm on
program.
Weight Watchers now and I
Okay,
eat
but we're
The
talking
question
about
is,
a
how
diet.
about- what does it
Excuse
do to
me.
you?
Thank you. We're talking about a diet. We're not going to talk about diets here. Because if diets worked, the 3,700 people that watched this last week had better things to do on Sunday morning. If diets worked, nobody would be in this room or any other obesity or overeaters or bingers or purgers or the 70,000 groups that we belong to on Facebook. Nobody would belong to, nobody would care, everybody would wake up in the morning and diet. And we'd all be a size 4, and we'd all be out shopping or going to church or playing with our kids right now. We wouldn't be having this conversation. So I so appreciate that certain things help you along your way. As far as talking about somebody else's diet and what they allow and they don't allow, I'm sorry, you guys, but if those diets worked, people wouldn't have to
No,
do
I'm
them
not talking
56
about what
times.
might think for
So-
me.
Right. You know what your trigger foods are. No
Right.
matter what anyone says, you know what are
Right.
the things that you react to, and you make those conscious decisions. The difference between nobody's perfect. There's no perfection. The difference is being in recovery. When I have those episodes, they don't last as long because I have resources. So I'm able to. If
Which
I fall
episodes
off-
are you talking
So
about?
I had a relapse when February. And so
Okay.
almost a year clean of abstaining from my trigger foods. I had a relapse in February because I became cocky and thought that I could handle it, and one bite is okay and one bite was not okay, and it was down the rabbit hole for me. Except I didn't sit and wallow in it for months. The next day I felt bad for the next day, I felt bad for a little bit, but I was able to pull myself out of it because I'm in recovery. So being in recovery gives us certain choices. The choices are what are we willing to do and how far are we willing to go to be healthy and feel better, and also how much work are we prepared to put in, because recovery doesn't just happen. It takes us putting in the work, the time and the effort to be able to stay in recovery, because you know what? We're worth it.
And that's about staying connected to community. And so anytime when you do hear about people's relapse, if they're in the middle of a community, they're working with other addicts in recovery, doing their best, and having some type of community, you're much more apt to stay in that relapse for a very short period of time. When you're not connected to community, and I can tell you this from experience, when you're not connected to community, your relapse lasts a whole lot longer, and the longer that relapse lasts, the more ashamed you are, the harder it is to tell the truth, and the longer the relapse lasts. And so, stay connected to community.
Patty.
Okay. I am a positive person.
Yes, you
Right.
are. And that's a
Okay.
positive thing for him.
Yeah. I was raised, okay, in a family that, an Irish family, meat and potato sugar. I've eaten sugar my entire life, okay? I've never felt guilty. It was just a way. Okay?
Yeah, it's what you learned.
Right. It's a way of learning. My kids used to make fun of me. I was a director of a school for years. That my lunch was a Snickers and a Coke. They spoke all the time. Okay, that was it. I was
That's
like
my
this.
dream.
Okay?
Fair enough.
I was thin. Okay, I hit menopause. I put on the weight. Okay, still continue to eat the sugar. It hit me a couple of weeks ago. I own the real estate office. I went to the Dollar Tree to get a Coke and a thing of Necco candies, and that's what I ate. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. I have to have a hip replacement because
Yes.
I have a bad hip. Okay, my joints hurt. You know, I'm overweight. You know, and I said to myself, you've got to stop. It was the first time in my entire life that I realized that sugar has become an addiction to me. However, okay, I have a family that, you know, I don't want to be a short order cook. I have an 86-year-old mother who lives with us that has,
Okay, and?
what does she have?
That's
Dementia.
okay. Okay.
Okay. How do you just totally eliminate sugar from you're doing it. You just don't eat it at all?
I
mean,
don't. I
it's-
don't.
So here's the thing.
I don't.
If you're addicted to,
No sweets.
if you're
100%.
addicted to, then yes, you stop. So you don't have to show up here and talk about what you're addicted to, right? If you're not having rice, bread, potato, pasta, chips, sweets, if you're not having those things, we're not having this conversation. And I'm sorry, you guys, but I don't give a shit who you guys are cooking for. And I don't care how many times you have to cook, because the reality of it is, you walked into a dollar store and you bought $2 worth of sugar. That wasn't you being a cook.
No.
And Patty, you know me.
I know.
I mean, you know how I am in the office. I'm
Right.
going to tell the truth. So the truth of the matter is that anytime we make that excuse, it's our addiction talking. Give me a reason to be able to use. Don't give yourself that reason. You got to cook for somebody else. And how difficult, you guys, is it to open up a bag of salad, put it on the plate, and have chicken
Make it
cooked
dressing.
on Sunday? Yeah, have chicken cooked on Sunday
I
for
cook
the
2
next
chickens
3
every
days.
week, and it's
Perfect. I get them from
I got
Costco.
chicken broth. I got meat. I got
Yeah. So
everything.
how difficult is it so that when you're done cooking for everybody else, that you sit down and enjoy a meal that will make you satiated, that will make you
I
feel
don't
well,
know.
that isn't going to add to your weight, so that you don't have to. You're talking about having your hip replaced. You know that the thinner you are, because that hip's going to have to carry that weight.
Right.
So just for that reason, you don't gotta be eating. I don't care what anybody else is eating. When I walk into a bar, I don't have to drink. End of discussion.
Right, we
Okay,
worried
so-
about last night.
But at least you caught yourself.
Yeah, but it took me how long?
Okay,
Took
we're
me a
reaching
long
a
time.
stage where we're going to
Better late
have
than
to
never.
start wrapping up. We can carry on the
That was
discussions
fast.
afterwards, but we are almost at the end of our Sunday session. Guys, can you give me a second and then
Guys?
you can talk after this?
Yeah, we'll do that.
Um, we meet every Wednesday night at 9 o'clock and Sunday mornings at 9 o'clock like clockwork, because this is our way of being in service,
And
being
in
in
community,
recovery,
yeah,
and
being
to
in-
also, we are grateful, I mean, honestly, to have this opportunity to be able to share. So we have, there's certain things that work for us. Food
Wednesday
addiction.
at night or Wednesday morning?
Wednesday morning at night, 9 o'clock, after Dr. Felice has done a full day's work with patients.
Yeah,
She
Wednesday's
still
my
comes
favorite
into
day.
a recovery meeting.
Sunday morning.
So we have certain solutions that work for us.
Physically?
Guys, can we talk afterwards? Because we
I'm
really need to
sorry.
wrap this up.
No, it's okay.
We have certain things tools that we use at our disposal. The one is having a food plan, whatever that is, whatever your trigger foods are, you need to abstain from them. It's the only way recovery works.
Can I just say too, Haiti's so important. So when Haiti talks about a food plan, you guys, she's talking about planning her food for the next day, not thinking about it, but you're talking about actually having the food plan. So saying for tomorrow, my tomorrow is going to look like this,
Right.
or my next week, or my
And
next
this
month,
is,
or
right, and this is how many ounces of protein, this is what kind of vegetables, and there can be flexibility, but it's planned out, so I'm not thinking about it. Otherwise, I'll spend a whole day and hours thinking about food.
obsession,
and not
obsession,
thinking-
obsession,
obsessing about
addiction,
it.
addiction,
Right.
addiction.
And everyone's plan is different, and you know what your issues are, and go to a nutritionist that understands recovery, because it's a different language.
Yeah,
as
you
well.
guys, don't go to those nutritionists that say that it's okay if you only have 13 pieces of bread today, as long as they're whole wheat bread, because that person doesn't understand anything about addiction. When we're talking about consistency, one of the things when we're talking about consistency is exactly what Haiti's talking about. And so when we're talking about planning, that doesn't let us make the mistake, right? Right? If you know what your food
Right.
is going to look like for tomorrow,
And also with consistency comes that way of thinking that I'm worth it. I'm that important that I'm going to put in the work. Because sometimes when we think about this, we think of it in hours instead of seconds. So me, a food plan takes all of maybe 3 minutes to put together, send it out, and it's done. I spend a little bit of time on a Sunday preparing what I need to, those chopped up vegetables, whatever it is, so I can throw it into salad, throw it into food, and cook normally for my family because they eat differently.
Also, in about a month and a half, you guys, we're going to have regular classes. So you guys know that I happen to have sponsees. My sponsees aren't doing ridiculously well because it has to do with me. They're doing ridiculously well because they're in recovery. They talk recovery. They do recovery work. They do a whole lot of recovery stuff. And so in the community, Haiti's going to go away for a while. Not away, like away on vacation. We're not putting her in prison. But she's going to be on vacation for a while. And so when she comes back from vacation, we'll actually be running classes. So anybody that has any questions about that can go ahead and IM Why Wait for Recovery, WEIGHT is the wait part. Why Wait for Recovery, or Haiti, or me, or Angie will give you them your information as well.
So the meetings still carry on. No matter, I'm going to be phoning in from overseas, which is perfect. You can access us anyway. There are many ways of getting in touch with us, and I'll come back to it. Doing the work, as Felice says, is key. Showing up is the other thing, because we are worth it. That hour a week or 2 hours a week, you are worth it. It's not that much time. You feel great by the time you leave here. I know all of us do, because I do. So
yeah, and always remember, you guys, part of showing up and being in community is when you ask that question, and that question has an answer that another 2,000 people needed to hear, right? Or you share something about your week that another 8,000 people were feeling at that time. And so our being in community, you guys, isn't selfish. Partially it's selfish so that we stay in our recovery, but it's also about reaching out your hand and helping somebody else get out of yourself and help somebody else, some other struggling addict.
So being in community also helps me be well, because when I'm sick, and addiction isn't an illness, it's a sickness that I isolate to use, and I want to talk to less people when I'm actually using, because it justifies and I can do stuff. So asking for help and being in community is absolutely key, and also being of service. That ability to get out of our head and extend our hand to someone else helps us feel good about ourselves, but it also can change someone else's day, be it opening up the door for someone at Publix or whatever it is. Little small acts of kindness, showing up and doing our best.
And that little small act of kindness for yourself, you guys, we do a gratitude list. It takes 10 seconds, 3 things that we're grateful for and our strength for the day. We all do it on WhatsApp. Anybody that wants to join our WhatsApp, go ahead and IM us. Otherwise, we do it on Downsizing Weight Loss, where we do it there, which is on Facebook, you guys, sorry. That's all right, I'm amazing. That's something, you know, how far will you go for your addiction? We talk about our gratitude list every single week, and it's amazing how many people won't spend the 10 seconds to do their gratitude list
during the day. If I really feel awkward, and I feel like eating something, I don't know, I feel uncomfortable, and I know this is the feeling that actually in the past have got me to go down to the kitchen and
use.
Yes. I actually sit wherever I am. I sit for a minute, and I just thank God for 3 things. And perfect. I don't write these.
No, that's perfect. That's awesome. We've got 2 minutes to finish, because 10 o'clock we have to be done. So we're going to close out with the promises.
Yes, we
always do. This is your favorite thing.
I'm going to read the promises from the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace, which is what my personal recovery is about. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize that the universe can do for us what we couldn't do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises? We don't think so. They're being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, but they will always materialize if we do the work, if we work for them. I am blessed and grateful to be in recovery. I'm Felice. I'm so blessed and grateful that you guys came here this morning. Everybody else out there on Facebook and Zoom and YouTube land, thank you for joining us this morning.
And my name is Haiti, and I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery. I was brought into recovery by a friend. Bring friends with you, because no one should be in pain or struggle alone. Everyone is welcome. We look forward to seeing you Wednesday night. Connect with us on Facebook, and have a beautiful week, and peace out. We didn't